Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into one of the biggest transformations happening right now, the rise of the smart city.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a few numbers, because they really tell the story here. 52%. That's how much of the world's population already lives in cities. Think about that. We are, for all intents and purposes, an urban species.
And that's not slowing down, not at all. It's actually speeding up like crazy. Every single week, another 1 million people move into a city somewhere on the planet.
So, when you cram that many people together, what happens? Well, for one thing, our cities are now responsible for consuming a whopping 70% of all global energy. Just wow.
You can imagine the kind of strain this puts on, well, everything. Housing, transportation, energy, water, you name it. And it really forces us to ask this huge, critical question. How on earth can our cities possibly handle this kind of growth?
So that's the core challenge, right? We've got to find a way to make city life better, create more opportunities for everyone. But at the exact same time, we have to slash our resource consumption. It's a huge puzzle to solve.
And this is where that term you've probably heard thrown around a lot comes in, the smart city. So what does that even mean? What makes a city smart?
All right, so a smart city, it's not really about flashy gadgets and sci-fi tech. At its heart, it's about using a digital network to connect all the city's moving parts. Think traffic, energy, you name it, all with one single goal, making life better and more efficient for the people who actually live there. And the backbone of this whole thing is what we call the Internet of Things, or IoT for short. The best way to think about it is like the city's digital nervous system. It's this huge web of connected things, devices, sensors, all talking to each other all the time.
So how does this digital nervous system actually work? Well, it relies on sensors, and there are basically two kinds. You've got your passive sensors. Think of a simple weather station that just sits there and collects data, like the temperature. Then you have active sensors. These are the ones that don't just collect data, they do something with it. A great example is a smart traffic light that sees how bad the traffic is and then actually changes its own signal to help things flow better.
But, and this is a really important but, just throwing a bunch of fancy tech at a city doesn't make it smart. It's not enough. Building a truly smart city takes a whole lot more than just gadgets and sensors. Yeah, the source material is super clear on this point. Technology is just one piece of the puzzle. The people, the city employees, and the actual community, they have an equally important role to play. You can't do it without them. And you can see how this works in the real world, which is what's so cool. It's about empowering people. In Palo Alto, you can use an app to report a broken streetlight. In Boston, they're working with universities to create apps that automatically report issues like potholes. And get this, in Cupertino, they used a 5K race to build community and trust. So see, it's not always about the high-tech stuff.
Okay, so how does a city actually become smart? It's not just a random process. The research lays out a really practical 3-step roadmap for how to get it done.
And it's a pretty logical process, right? First, you study the community. Then, you develop a smart city policy. And finally, you engage the community. You listen, then you plan, then you act. Simple as that. So, step 1 is all about studying the community. And this means really digging in. Leaders need to analyze demographics, education levels, even what people do for fun. They use tools like GIS, which are basically super smart maps, to see what residents expect and, frankly, what they demand from their government. Okay, step 2, develop a smart city policy. This is where you make it official. You define everyone's roles, you set clear goals, and this is key. You give someone, usually the CIO, the actual power, money, and resources to make it happen. You can't just talk about it, you've got to fund it. And that brings us to step 3, engage the community. This is where you build trust by making residents part of the solution. You use open data, you build mobile apps, but the absolute foundation for all of this, citywide high-speed Wi-Fi. It's the infrastructure that makes the whole Internet of Things possible. So you do all this work. You set up the sensors, you write the policies, you engage the people. But why? What's the ultimate goal? Well, it's all about building one thing, a resilient city. So what's a resilient city? It's a city that can take a punch. It can withstand and adapt to all kinds of shocks and stresses. We're talking big stuff like unemployment, natural disasters, or even major cyber attacks.
and not just survive, but actually recover and come back stronger.
And that brings us back to this quote, which really sums it all up. People, processes, and technology are the three pillars of smart city initiatives. You see, to get that resilience, you have to get these three things: people, processes, and technology working together in harmony. You can't have one without the others. So, as we wrap this up, here's a final thought to leave you with. Your city is collecting more data than ever before. So the big question for you, for all of us, is this: how can you make sure that all that information is actually being used to make your life better?